What's up, guys? So today we're covering Metasploit Meterpreter. This is a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and dive in. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the series. Hopefully you guys are liking the Metasploit specifically. I really like Metasploit, but I will tell you it's not going to be any use to you if you don't know what it's doing in the back end. It's more of a ease of use thing, not so much of a one-stop shop. And the reason I tell you that is because if you ever take like the OSCP or anything like that, you cannot use Metasploit. So just heads up on the future. It's a very good tool if you understand what it's trying to do on the back end, but it's not such a good tool if you're relying on it to do everything for you. So let's go ahead and dive in. This is going to be more post-exploitation. So let's go ahead and talk about it. How does Meterpreter work? So Meterpreter, what's the difference between Metasploit and Meterpreter, right? So Metasploit is the framework, meaning it's the tools all combined. Meterpreter is when you get the actual session, you have a Meterpreter session, meaning you have a shell that you can now access. But Meterpreter has special commands that you can use to kind of shortcut some things for you. So if you guys have ever used Cobalt Strike, anything like that, it's a very similar type process where you can actually shortcut a lot of what you would normally do. So here you can see get PID. They're going to cover some things, and I'll talk more about them. But get PID is get process ID. The reason you need your process ID and PS is the command for processes is because when you usually get a Meterpreter session, it's not going to be stable. What I mean by that is you might come into a session and whatever service you're running, if you're trying to do stuff with it, it could be that service is not going to be stable, meaning it could crash, then you lose your session. It could be caught very easily because let's just say you migrate into Notepad process, right? And all of a sudden you're running PowerShell commands from the Notepad. Well, that's going to get caught pretty quick by everything because Notepad doesn't run PowerShell commands or asks to. So things like that. So I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but when you take over a system, you're taking control of a process, whether that be one of these or you start a new process like PowerShell or something like that. That will run on the system. They will be able to see that. So keep that in mind. Now, you can take a step further if you actually do this and look at task lists, and you can look at the DLL libraries. If you guys aren't familiar with what DLLs are, it's the configuration files. It's how a lot of the recent attacks have happened, such as Print Spooler or Print Nightmare, you might know it. The other one that just happened was the Log4j, excuse me. These are taken over because of, Log4j was a logging thing, but that's not my point. The point is the DLLs are the configuration files that are going to load when a service runs or when something runs, right? So this here will show you the DLLs. What they're showing here, all they're trying to tell you guys is if you look here, nothing jumps out of the page and says, oh, watch out, Metasploit's got a hold of you. But even though they have a session right now. So that's what they're trying to show you is that it's sneaky. The problem is most antivirus software are going to detect it very quickly because it does have a signature. And what I mean by that is it does follow a pattern. It is going to do things that Meterpreter does, and most antivirus are going to catch it. So unless you have permission, you're going to get caught 90% of the time using Meterpreter or Metasploit. And the only reason for that is because it does have a signature pattern of how it traverses. All right, so this here they've used the MS Venom, and they're actually just looking for Meterpreter payloads. And this is just showing you that you can look, if you search them, you're going to get Android, Apple, Java, Linux, Python, so on and so forth. Here you go, PHP, Python, all that. So what they're saying here is if you know what your target is and you know what you're trying to do, you can directly correlate the attack or the payload with what you're actually trying to do or what your operating system is on your attack target. Now, here you can see the MS-17 Eternal Blue. That's the one we took over in the last box. You can see it defaults to Windows 64 Meterpreter reverse shell, right? So it defaulted to what it knows Eternal Blue. So what they're trying to show you here with that is simply that not every payload is going to work on every system. It's just not possible, right? If I run an Android payload and on a Windows system, it doesn't know what to do. It doesn't even understand what I'm sending it. So it's not going to work. So you have to make sure you know what you're trying to do and make sure it's specific. So here you can see, if you show the payloads, it has these options. And you notice they're all pretty much Windows because it's a Windows box. So keep that in mind, that you have to know what you're doing. Otherwise, it's going to, if you see something cool, it may not work, is what I'm saying. So this is another example of that. So these are the Meterpreter commands. So these are some of the built-in commands that are a little bit more user-friendly, rather than knowing how to do it or taking the long route or running a script or something like that. These will do this for you. So if you type help in the Meterpreter session, you'll get these commands, right? So some of the ones that you're going to look at, this is a big one, migrate. So it allows you to migrate Meterpreter to another process. So we're going to cover that. But migrate's a big one because, like I said, when you take over a Meterpreter session, typically you want to migrate to a better service because these are not going to be stable enough to run extended periods. Now it might be, you might get one where you're in exactly what you want. Now that's possible, but you want to make sure you're taking over a service that is stable, trustworthy, and isn't going to get you busted in 10 seconds, right? You can see background, that'll just background the session, exit. These are very common. You can see these are normal file system commands, boom, boom, boom. But some of the bigger ones that you want, that I personally think are fun, because Meterpreter lets you have fun too. That's the other thing. You can see here, some of them are really fun. If you take over your buddy's computer, let's say you have an old Windows laptop that you want to mess with or something, you can actually go ahead and use these, and you can take screenshots of the interactive desktop. You can actually take screen share, allows you to watch the remote, and we'll do the screen share today, so that way you guys can see it. It's really cool. It's just fun to do, and you can actually watch, if someone's on that machine, what they're doing. All right, so this is just the help commands. I'm not going to cover them word for word because you guys can go ahead and go through. One that you'll see a lot is a key scan start. These are just adding a keylogger basically. That's common if you want to see if someone will type in passwords. Like I did a exercise years ago that was nationwide, and we had to, I'm not gonna say which state I was against, but it was state versus state, and all we did was we had one account because we took over one person's account, and we just put he was an admin, so we just put a keylogger on his machine, because this was a couple of weeks exercise. It wasn't a overnight, so you had time to wait. We put a keylogger on his machine, and we just waited till he logged in from server to server to server to server because he was an admin working on things, and we got all the passwords for all of their stuff for their admin accounts. Once we did that, it's game over because we could log into the domain controller and create our own accounts if we wanted to at that point, right? So keep in mind, keyloggers are an old school form of hacking, but they work really well. I also have physical keyloggers. I think that's what I'm going to do on my 500 giveaway, or 500 sub giveaway, is give away a keylogger to someone, one of the subs, obviously. So that's just a thought. But keyloggers work really well. They're very hidden, and they work extremely well, like I said. Physical keyloggers, I'll just tell you, are way better in my opinion because they don't get detected the way that software ones do. All right, enough with the keyloggers. I've gotten on a rant here. All right, so here's the help commands. Boom, you see it. All right, so some of the commands you want to do. First one, get UID, because this shows you who you logged in as, right? If you're NT Authority System on a Windows computer, you're root. You've got it. You're admin, right? The PS command, that's processes. You can see all the processes that are running. Now, when you're going to migrate to one, you're going to actually look at the process ID number, and that's what you'll put in, okay? And I'll show you guys that here in a little bit. We're going to go through it. Here's the keylogger: start, scan, stop, dump. So you start it whenever you stop it, and you dump it, and it'll give you all the different things it did. Here you go, migrate 716. So that's, let's see which one he migrated to. So he migrated to the LSAS, which is what we're going to do today. So he migrated to it, perfect, and it completed successfully. Sometimes it won't complete successfully, and that's okay. Just keep that in mind. Sometimes it's not going to be perfect. Hash dump. We've done that before. You're just going to dump the hashes. Search. So keep in mind too, when you're a process, so the process that we're going to log into today, is not going to allow us to do a hash dump because it doesn't have permissions to do that. So we have to migrate to the LSASS, which will give us permissions. So sometimes you'll run a command and it won't work and you don't know why. It's because whatever service you have is not capable of running that. Okay, now the search command, we've done that before. We did that last time. We're going to do that a couple of times today. And then the shell. So the shell will create a physical shell on the box. What I mean by that is it's just going to dump you into a regular command line, not a Meterpreter session. So that's if you are a little bit more familiar with the shell itself. Why can't I move now? There we go. Okay, so if you like the actual physical shell better than the Meterpreter session, you can do that. That's all it is. Sometimes like certain shells will allow you to do a couple of things. It's just all preference. All right. So now get system. So get system is supposed to try and automatically escalate its privileges to admin. Now, keep in mind this doesn't always work. I will say the majority of the time it's not going to work in a real scenario, but it might. And if it does, that's awesome. You didn't have to do anything to get escalated privileges. It just did it for you. Hash dump, again, perfect because you can dump those hashes and you can start trying to break those passwords, which we're going to break one today. Here, you can load Python. So this is just showing you can load different modules after you have a Meterpreter session, and it will load that so that you can then use their functions. So now you see they have extra help menu, like Kiwi CMD, execute Mimikatz command, boom, 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 boom. So if you guys aren't familiar, Mimikatz, Kiwi, all of it, it's just a post-exploitation tool. You can load those in, and it gives you many more options. So keep that in mind. All right, so here we go. So use the credentials below to simulate an initial compromise over SMB. All right, so what's that mean? First things first, let's start. Let's go ahead and get the Metasploit open. All right, so it tells us right here. It already gives us what we're going to use. We're going to use the exploit Windows SMB PS exec. Perfect. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to say use, and I'm just going to follow exactly what they said. Exploit Windows SMB PS exec. Hit enter. Boom. We're in there like swimwear. Now we just show options. Now you notice, all right, it didn't set them for me. So we have to set the options. So we need to set our hosts like normal. And the R host here is 10.10.117.138. Okay. Now you notice here, there's also an option. It's not required, but it's an option right here for SMB pass and SMB user. Well, they gave us the username and password, so we're going to go ahead and use that. SMB user, and we'll say B Allen. All right, now we're going to say, whoops, I didn't set it. SMB user, B Allen. Set SMB pass as password 1. All right, so that should be good, and then we'll run it. Now I'll tell you, it doesn't work every single time. You're gonna notice that about Metasploit. Sometimes it'll do this and it might not work. Now here we got it. We got the session, so we're in. So now watch this. If we want to have fun, we say screen share. Okay, and you can see, not gonna work. You can see it doesn't work. Okay, waiting. Perfect. So let's go ahead. First thing we need to do, in my opinion, is we need to migrate to the LSASS. Now, all we're going to do, PS, so we need to look at the processes, find the LSASS. There it is, 764. Now, again, we're only doing this because this one doesn't have permissions or can't open what we need it to do. So let's migrate to LSASS where we know we can have full access. Migration completed successfully. Now let's see if screen share will work. And it might not. And it does not. Current session was spawned. Let's see it. All right, so it's just waiting, blah, blah, blah. By service on Windows 8 Plus, no desktops are available to screenshot. So, okay, so it doesn't have a desktop. That's why. It's just a strict server with no desktop, so you can't screenshot it. Perfect. Okay, so we know that now. So now, what is the computer name? So you can see we're just going to type sysinfo, system info, and you can see the computer name is Acme Test. Perfect, easy enough. Now this one might give you a little bit of a run, but all you got to do is they're trying to get you to see how to background it. So Control Z, background the session. This is running really slow. There we go. All right, it didn't background it for some reason. Or did it? Okay, it did. It just took, for some reason, it lagged and took 2 Ys. Okay, so now, here, if you look at the hint, it'll give you exactly which one you're looking for. Post, Windows, gather, enum data, or enum domain, excuse me. So we're going to say use, post, gather. I think it's Windows post, but we'll see. All right, post Windows, gather, enum date or domain, excuse me. So now when we use this, so we have to look at our sessions. So sessions tech I, which will give us information about it. And you can see we only have 1, so the ID number is 1, which is what we need. So now we'll set session, and if you guys don't understand what's going on here, what we did is we background our session, our Meterpreter session, and then we started using this post-exploitation module, which is enum domain. So we want the domain. So we're going to set the session to 1, which is the session ID right here. And when you do that, you're going to see when we run this, it's just going to, all it's going to do is go into that session or into that module for you, and it's going to do the enumeration for the domain for you. And you can see right there, the domain is Flash. It found it for us. Perfect. All right, so what is the name of the share likely created by the user? Okay, so now we're going to do basically the same thing. So we're going to say use Windows. This is a pain in my butt. So post Windows. If I could type, gather, but we want enum SMB shares, or maybe it's just shares. Enum shares, okay? Now set session to 1 and run it. And you can see here, so it's asking us, what is the name of the share likely created by the user? Well, we know system volume's probably not likely created by the user because that's a default one. We know net logon is probably not created by the user because it's default one. So it's probably Speedster. So Speedster is the answer. It's the one that was probably created by the user. Now we can't prove that. We don't know that, but we're guessing, right? So now, what is the NTLM hash of JChambers user? So now, if you didn't migrate here, so first things first, we're going to jump back into our sessions. So we go to sessions tech I and hit 1 to interact with the first session. Okay, so now we're back in the, you can see here, we're right back in it. But you can see here, it's going to ask us for a hash dump. So we want to hash dump this. Boom, and it's asking for JChambers. So JChambers, there's his hash right there. So now it's saying, what is the hash? We got it. So now what's the clear text? So we know this is an NTLM hash. So we go to crack hashes. We can do whatever you want. All right. We'll just go to online. And it's, I'm pretty sure it's crackstation.net. And you just hit enter, or paste it in there, excuse me, crack hash it, and boom, it's an NTLM hash. Now this only works, I'll tell you right now, if you use an online hash cracker like this, they only work for low level encryption algorithms. They're not going to work for today's passwords typically. Sometimes they will if you find some, but if they're, you know, already found or whatever, because this is just a large database that has this information already. So if it's a password that hasn't been uploaded, it's not going to be in there. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. So there's the answer. Trust no one. All right. So we have the answer. Trust no one is his clear text password. Really cool. We cracked it. We didn't have to do anything. Now you could keep going and try and crack all these if you wanted to. And I recommend doing stuff like that because that's how you get better and learn things. Now, where is the secrets.txt file located? So search TAC F for file. And we're going to say secrets.txt. And this may take a second. The first time it got hung up on me, I had to Control-C it and stop it, and then run it again, and it worked in about 30 seconds or so. There you go. So there it is, C program files 86 Windows Multimedia Platform. And boom, you can see right there, that's our answer. I don't know if you guys can see it. If you guys can't, we'll do this for you. So you can see right there, there's our answer. C program files, blah, blah. All right, so now if we go ahead and you can do multiple things. You can download the file, or you can just open it. So you can just cat it. So we know it's, I just do this to go to the home directory. So you can see if we go to secrets.txt where it's located. So we go to CD and we're going to go to program files. And now keep in mind when you're doing this, you'll have to do it in quotations. The only reason is because the files have spaces. And that is why Linux doesn't do spaces, because they're smart. So now you have to do and you can do present working directory. And you can see I'm in C program files 86. But if you don't do quotations, it's not going to understand what you want. So now we'll go to CD and again quotations, because there are spaces. Now keep in mind also that when there's spaces like that, you can't tab it because you have the quotations. It's frustrating, I know. Now if we cat, which is to open the secrets.txt, my Twitter password is boom. So we get her Twitter password. Boom, boom, boom. Easy day. All right, now it's asking where's the real secret. So now we need the real secret. So now we're going to do the same search function, and we're looking for real secret.txt. Boom, 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 boom. And when we get this is the type of stuff you would be doing post-exploitation, meaning you've already taken over the machine. You're not trying to take over the machine at this point. You're trying to gather information. So there's the real one, C init pub www root. So let's go ahead and go to that. All right, so we're in init pub www root, and then we'll go ahead and list them. And there it is, real secret.txt. Now, cat real secret.txt, and boom, the real secret is the Flash is the fastest man alive. So there you go, guys. This box is a lot of fun because they just give you the box and you get to have fun with it. You don't have to worry about breaking it. You don't have to worry about doing anything crazy. Try and migrate to other processes. Try to, crack all the hashes. Try to have fun with it. This is a fun box. I really like this one. When I was going through it, tasks 1 through 4 just talked about it. I wasn't super thrilled about it because I thought, oh crap, they're just going to talk about it. Nothing's going to happen. They did a great job of really showing you what to do here. Another thing I really recommend is loading Kiwi. We'll go ahead and load it so that you guys can see it. All right, so now when we do help, you can see here, you can get all creds. These are Kiwi commands. Keep that in mind. They're different than the regular commands. You can see create a golden Kerberos ticket. That's huge. If you guys don't know what that is, it's outside the scope of this, but that's all right. List Wi-Fi profiles creds for the current user. Now, I don't think this server probably has any Wi-Fi lists, but we'll try it. Yep, it doesn't. We can try the list shared, but I don't think this server's probably never been on Wi-Fi or even has a Wi-Fi interface. But you can change the password of a user. I mean, there's a lot that Kiwi can do. There's a lot more than this even. So have fun with it, enjoy it, dive in, start messing with Metasploit, Google some stuff, have fun. I'm telling you, Metasploit is a lot of fun. Just don't rely on it. That's my only suggestion. Don't rely on it because real hackers may use Metasploit, but they do not rely on it. They know how to do back-end stuff themselves. Also, they use Metasploit to save time. So hopefully you guys liked it. Again, we're reaching that 500 subs. So if you guys like the video, please sub, because once we reach that 500 subs, I'm going to do a giveaway, either a keylogger or a Wi-Fi pineapple, something like that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and I appreciate you guys. Have a great day.